Greetings, friends. You are on the Ruslan Belov channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine as of October 12, 2025. A large number of very important events have taken place today, so let's get started. Yesterday, Zelensky had a phone call with Trump. They discussed issues related to the Middle East, how Trump managed to end many wars in the past, and now he is apparently ready to end another one, most likely the war with Russia. Zelensky believes that for this to happen, Trump must provide him with Tomahawk missiles. This information is now being spread both by global media and through various insider sources. Zelensky discussed the Tomahawks with Trump. He is waiting for them. He expects them specifically this week, hoping that their arrival will give the Verkhovna Rada grounds to once again extend martial law and mobilization. He wants to show the Ukrainian population that it is worth enduring the strikes on energy infrastructure, worth sitting through another 90 days of blackouts and shortages, because Ukraine will have Tomahawks capable of striking deep into Russian territory. So far, there have been no official statements from Trump or the White House confirming that these missiles will indeed be supplied to Ukraine. However, today Western media are publishing rather telling articles suggesting that Ukraine has long been striking Russian energy infrastructure with drones and domestically produced missiles using US reconnaissance data. According to Financial Times, the United States has been guiding all missiles and drones launched toward Russian territory for quite some time. And by the way, this article did not appear by accident. It looks like a deliberate move to warm up public interest and remind Americans that they are already deeply involved in targeting Russian facilities. The hidden message seems clear. If you do not provide the Tomahawks, we might release more detailed information about the extent of your participation. So there is little point in pretending anymore. The Americans have long been directly involved in the conflict, guiding targets and even coordinating strikes. Therefore, as the logic goes, there is no reason left not to give Ukraine the Tomahawks. We are now waiting for these missiles to arrive this week. Yet even if Ukraine does receive them, as both Peskov and Putin have stated, it will not change the situation on the front line. After 10, 20, or 30 launches, Russia will most likely adapt and begin shooting them all down without exception. But Zelensky will still get what he wants, a formal justification to extend martial law and mobilization for another 90 days, pushing it all the way to January 2026. Meanwhile, more interesting news is emerging. Since the beginning of the special military operation, there has been, as far as I recall, only one member of the Verkhovna Rada who consistently voted against martial law and mobilization, Deputy Honcharenko. And today, reports indicate that several more deputies have publicly stated that they will no longer support the continuation of hostilities, martial law, or further mobilization. Of course, we are not talking about hundreds of deputies, not even 10 or 20, but it is no longer just one. This could mark a serious, perhaps even tectonic shift in the overall perception of the situation within Ukraine's political elite. It is entirely possible that with each new extension of martial law and mobilization, more and more deputies will join this position. We will be watching closely to see how this entire Tomahawk story and the debate over the next extension of martial law unfold over the coming week. The line of contact now. Let's move to the front line. We'll start with the Zaporizhzhia sector. Today, pro-Ukrainian mapping services report that Russian forces have begun advancing from the settlement of Malinivka toward the northwest. This maneuver suggests that Russia is attempting to bypass the Poltavka defensive area from the west, effectively trying to get behind the Ukrainian grouping positioned near the villages of Poltavka and Okhotniche. At this stage, Russian units have reportedly cleared the northwestern part of Malinivka and approached the road separating Malinivka and Poltavka. The situation there remains dynamic, and we will continue to monitor how events develop. The Pokrovsk agglomeration next. We move toward Pokrovsk, the area that has produced the most significant and dramatic updates over the past month, and especially in the past 24 hours. Let's begin once again with October 11, 2025. Yesterday, pro-Russian sources published this footage showing what can only be described as a graveyard of destroyed Ukrainian military equipment. In these images, we can see dozens of vehicles, from lightly armored to heavy ones, all obliterated north of the Pokrovsk agglomeration along the main supply route. These visuals make one thing clear: the armed forces of Ukraine have lost the ability to safely bring in or evacuate troops and equipment to and from the Pokrovsk area. The risk of destruction during movement is now extremely high. This location is the main logistical artery, and its collapse signals a critical phase for the Ukrainian grouping there. Additionally, yesterday reports emerged that Russian forces managed to break through Ukrainian defenses on the western flank of the Pokrovsk agglomeration. Updated maps from various cartographers show that between October 10th and 11th, Russian troops entered the northern and northwestern citadel of Pokrovsk, the industrial zone, and cut several roads, including the M30 and H525, which connect the main territory with the western part of the city. This is a maximally critical development for Ukrainian forces in that sector. As of October 12, 2025, the information has not yet been 100% confirmed. It has come primarily from pro-Russian sources, but it already serves as an alarming sign that the situation for Ukrainian units in Pokrovsk is deteriorating sharply. Furthermore, information appeared that on October 11th, Russian units entered the settlements of Kazatske, Promin, and Balahan. These updates were provided by several pro-Russian analysts and field sources. This marks an important advance for Russian forces, suggesting that by the end of October 11th, they may have reached the outskirts of Mirnohrad. If that is the case, in the coming days, we can expect heavy fighting both for the Mirnohrad citadel, located in the central part of the city, dividing it into two halves, and for the Dmitrov mine area nearby. And now, my friends, we smoothly move on to October 12th, and today additional details have emerged that are extremely important. They come from the area of Rodinska. According to highly reliable pro-Russian experts and cartographic sources, the settlement of Krasny Lyman has been fully cleared, and the Russian army now confidently controls the southern part of Rodinsky and Krasny Lyman. In addition, Russian units have established physical control over the T-0515 highway, the same road where, just yesterday, we saw dozens of destroyed Ukrainian vehicles at this very intersection. Based on the current map and configuration, the corridor remaining for Ukrainian forces is now no more than 6 kilometers wide. This road is under complete Russian fire control, both through FPV drone strikes and direct physical control by Russian ground units. From all of this, we can conclude that as of October 12, 2025, the city of Pokrovsk has officially fallen into full encirclement, into a cauldron. From this point forward, Ukrainian forces will no longer be able to hold their positions within the agglomeration. It is now only a matter of time before the Ukrainian army makes the final decision to retreat from this sector. However, such a decision will most likely be made only after the potential arrival of the Tomahawk missiles. Kyiv needs some kind of media victory to justify both its political and military defeat on the ground. Moreover, today the first objective control footage appeared, confirming the presence of Russian forces within the settlements of Balahan and Kazatske. In these videos, we can see Ukrainian FPV drone strikes targeting Russian assault units operating in the area, meaning the reports were indeed accurate. Russian forces have entered Balahan and Kazatske and are now clearing the northeastern and southern parts of Mirnohrad. As you can see, the situation for Ukrainian units has become maximally critical. The encirclement is not partial anymore. It is total, with control established in all directions. However, we still await full confirmation, geolocation evidence, videos, and possibly an official statement from the Russian Ministry of Defense. If this information is verified, it will likely be followed by an announcement confirming control over the territory east of Mirnohrad. The fighting here is entering its final and decisive stage. In the coming days, the noose around Ukrainian positions in this area will only tighten, until Commander Syrsky is forced to make a withdrawal decision. However, Zelensky is unlikely to allow such a move until the end of the current mobilization wave or before the delivery of the Tomahawks. The Siversk-Lyman direction. Next, we move to the Siversk-Lyman direction, where very important updates are also arriving. Sources report that Ukrainian authorities have decided to carry out a mandatory evacuation of the city of Sloviansk. Russian forces are now advancing toward it both from the east and from the northeast, through the settlements of Siversk and Lyman. battles for these two cities are now only a matter of time. The Russian Ministry of Defense and the General Staff have already reported that fighting is underway in the Siversk area, although no verified geolocations have yet appeared to confirm this. Still, judging from the overall trend, this development is clearly approaching. Once Lyman falls completely, Russian drones will be able to operate over Sloviansk freely, including those using advanced fiber optic control technology. As for tactical adjustments, no significant territorial gains have yet been geolocated, but pro-Ukrainian cartographers are making corrections along the section between Zarekne and Yampil, near the Zherebets River. This confirms that Russian forces are gradually advancing through the forested areas between Yampil and Zarekne to bypass open terrain and approach Lyman from the south and east. In addition, regular drone strikes are being carried out on Ukrainian supply routes. Supplying the Ukrainian grouping inside Lyman is becoming extremely difficult. The city is turning into a one-way logistics zone, where equipment goes in, but almost nothing comes out. A similar situation is unfolding in Siversk. Strikes are regularly hitting bridges and crossings. In recent footage, we can see another bridge mined by Ukrainian forces and destroyed by a Russian drone to collapse logistics in the area. Overall, Siversk now increasingly resembles the city of Vovchansk, a place gradually being wiped off the map. The Kupiansk direction. Next, we move to the Kupiansk direction, where events are developing in a similar pattern. Russian forces are steadily advancing east of Kupiansk. Recall that the city is already blocked from the west, making entry and exit extremely difficult. The situation here mirrors what we are seeing near Pokrovsk. In this footage, we see another episode where a Ukrainian vehicle attempted to slip into Kupiansk but was quickly detected and destroyed by a drone operator. Meanwhile, the central part of Kupiansk continues to be hit, particularly the industrial zone, and the fighting is gradually moving toward Kupiansk-Uzlovy, another large settlement. However, it must be understood that once Kupiansk itself falls, holding Kupiansk-Uzlovy will be even more difficult. The Kharkiv sector now to the Kharkiv sector. Today, reports indicate that Russian forces have firmly established positions on the southern side of the city of Vovchansk, south of the Volkhya River. Yesterday, footage appeared showing Russian forces striking Ukrainian positions in the southern Vovchansk citadel using FAB aerial bombs. And today, it has been reported that Russian troops have almost completely cleared the entire western part of Vovchansk. The distance from the Russian forward line to the city's southern boundary is now less than 1.5 kilometers, well within the operating range of Russian drones. The task for Russian forces here is clear: to clear the remaining citadel area. If Ukrainian forces lose control of this territory, they will effectively lose the entire northeastern sector of the Kharkiv region, which stretches along the Volkhya River, including the settlements of Vovchansk, Dediktani, Kruhla, and Zemlyanki. After the cleansing of Vovchansk, a large-scale Russian offensive may begin, aiming to clear the entire northeastern part of the Kharkiv region, from the Pechenihy Reservoir all the way to the Russian state border. However, this operation is expected to proceed in parallel with the ongoing battles around Kupiansk. And that's all for today, my friends. Stay tuned for the next reports. The situation is changing by the hour. Subscribe to the channel, share your thoughts in the comments, and take care of yourselves. See you in the next briefing.